Everyone starts the year thinking, that's enough. In 2021, I will learn all those crazy technologies, grow my online presence, and have a healthy and balanced life, right? The only problem, you don't have a formal process to achieve your goals, not even one to track them. I will solve that problem for you in the next 5 minutes. Let's jump right into it. A couple days ago, I shared on Twitter one of my spreadsheets with goals for 2020. I was very surprised to see how many people ask me more about the process and the spreadsheet, even though the process is pretty straightforward. I realized that most people don't have a formal process to track their goals, their progress, and motivate themselves to keep pushing. So after a couple of requests, I decided to make this video to share with you my whole process and how do I track from long-term goals to mid-term goals to actionable items and even to-do tasks for every day. I have been using this process for almost 3 years now and it has worked wonders for me, even though it is pretty simple. And I think that's the key. I will also give you a template for the spreadsheet so you can create your own and have a successful 2021 conquering all your goals. Let's go through a couple premises for this process to work. The first one is to shoot very, very high. It is always better to shoot very high and fall a little bit short than shoot for an easy target and then overachieve it or do it with a couple of extra days. Because when you are not getting to your goal in time, you will start thinking and trying to find ways to achieve it anyway. We want that sense of urgency and the necessity to think of creative ways to be able to achieve what seems very hard when you are writing it. The second premise is that goals should be in packs of short intervals. So between 2 and 4 weeks is what works best for me and what I would recommend to you. And lastly, you want to set a tentative due date at the very start. Do your best to achieve it, and if you are not able to do so, the idea is to reschedule and try harder. Those are the premises I followed when I started this year. I had basically 2 spreadsheets, one for personal and professional growth and one for social media. This one is very similar to the social media I had. I just polished a little and added some colors and emojis so the template looks a little nicer, but my actual spreadsheet was very, very similar to this. And you can see that I started on mid-May with 0 online presence. Basically, I didn't have a platform or a blog or a YouTube channel or a Twitter following. I had plenty of experience as a software engineer, but nobody knew me online. And I decided, because this was in the middle of the pandemic and I was already done with feeling sorry for myself after 2 months of quarantine, and I decided this was the right time for me to jump into social media and start sharing my knowledge, helping others, and building my brand. Basically, I started with one of my templates, as I usually do, one of my spreadsheets, and I first set some objectives for the midterm. That was social media presence, a platform with a blog, a YouTube channel, and then 6 months to grow my social media. The idea was to put all the effort I could in the rest of the year, so when 2020 ends, I will have something to show for and be part of a community and have some reach to share my knowledge and help others. So in this template, I put the midterm goals in here, then this will be the actionable goals in the short term, and then I have some long-term objectives that is like the dream that you are pursuing, right? And basically then what we need to do is fill this table, right? This table has all the actionable goals that should be packed in short cycles from 2 to 4 weeks. So when I started, I said, okay, what I want to achieve is to have social media presence, a platform, a YouTube channel, and to grow my social media. So how can I do that? Well, I was starting from scratch. So the first thing I thought was to have my own page that will be like a social hub where I could link all my social media and have my blog and so on. So the first task that I wrote was to define the technology for my blog. The second goal was to get my first 1,000 followers on Twitter. I already had an account with a couple hundred of followers. Nobody knew me because I didn't really tweet intentionally or adding value or anything, but I had an account and I just reused that. And I don't know if that hurt me or helped me, but it was whatever. My first goal on Twitter was to get to 1,000 followers. Then I wanted to have my first version of the blog up and running. This will be like an MVP, basically, for software engineers. And then I had a set date for launching the website with the blog. After that, I will start updating my YouTube design. Then I had to edit my intro, start writing some blog posts and market them so people would watch and read them, and film and edit channel trailer and so on. You get the idea. I don't want to read everything. If you take a look, I will always pack them between 2 to 4 weeks. I will work on a couple of items from the midterm together in a span of 2 weeks. And that helps me to stay focused on making progress on everything that matters. Here is where the spreadsheet comes in handy and actually starts doing something for you. And that is, you will put the name of the goal, then you will set the due date, and the remaining days is actually completed automatically. So what this does is use a basic formula that calculates the days between the due date and today. And after doing that subtraction, I have a format in here. You can go to Format, Conditional Formatting, and I have 4 rules that basically determine if the remaining days should have a background color of red, orange, yellow, or green when it is done. So basically you will have in here 3 parameters because I had this hard-coded for me, but maybe you want to use different values. So I actually went and modified this a little bit so it could be parameterized. And the idea is, for me, when a goal is less than 15 days to the due date, you should start working on this. For 7 days, that will be 1 week, you should be close to the goal. And then if it is 3 days to the due date, then you should be finishing this. This is urgent. Put your hands into it and pour everything you have so you can achieve your goal on time. Basically, after I am done with it, I just write done, and then the conditional format rules basically paints it as green, right? So if you notice in here, my last goal for 2020 that isn't done as of right now, as of the time of recording this, is to get 500 subs on YouTube. So if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe below so you can get more content like this video. So let me show you an example of how you will add goals to the spreadsheet when you start using a template like this one. Basically, you will put your goal in here, example 1. I will copy from the top the date and modify it so it makes sense. Let's say the 5th. And I will also copy the formula from the top, and it will automatically calculate the remaining days and color the background with the formatting. So now I already know that for the goal example 1, it is on orange, which means this is pretty close to the due date and I should be working hard on this, right? And it is very visual. So if we put a couple more examples, example 2, let's say we can add, I think I can do this. Let's give it a try. Yes. And if I move this to 12, for example, you can see how another goal that is in yellow looks. And if we do one more, let's do example 3 and move this to 15 or 18, and you will see that it doesn't have any color. So basically, this is how I track them. And if I'm done for some reason that this has happened before, if I'm done with this task, I just write it done and there is no problem, right? So I get to another goal before others chronologically, but there is no problem with that. I also like to color the big milestones. So everything that is very important for me, it's like a prize when I get to that point because it helps tremendously to the midterm goals in here. Then I like to color it with a different background, and I just do that manually because when I get that done, it feels extra nice, and that fills me with motivation to continue pursuing the following goals. In my case, this was launching the website with the blog, launching the YouTube channel, and get the 5K followers on Twitter. That's the operational part of the spreadsheet. Then I had a couple extra sections. In here I will put some details for the midterm to-dos, and in here I remove it because it was very detailed for myself, but basically anything that you want to keep note and make sure you don't forget about the details of your goals. Then I have 2 more sections. One we already talked a little bit, that will be the long-term objectives, and the other one is notes/ideas. And in here, in my case, I had many video titles and ideas to produce, a couple of blog post ideas, thread ideas for Twitter, videos to watch about sound quality, lighting, and so on. Another thing that is part of my process that I follow, and I recommend you do the same, is to have a to-do list for every day. Basically, I use an app for that. I don't use a spreadsheet because you have to actually change and create items and remove them every day. I don't find that particularly handy to do in a spreadsheet, even though you can do it. But in my case, what I do is I use the Microsoft To Do application that works both in your cell phone and in your desktop. So it comes pretty handy because you can actually plan your day from your cell phone or your computer and update whenever you finish a task. And it is a simple to do application, but a little bit more fancy. You can add, for example, finish unit 7 from the course. If you're doing some course on programming, you enter your task, and then when you are done with it, you just mark it as done, and you get to see all the completed tasks for the days. I recommend you put between 4 and 8, and I will put the focus on the most important 2 tasks at the start of the day. So always tackle the things that are more daunting and that you don't want to do at the start of the day, or not even not want to do, but that are difficult. Yeah, that's basically most of the process I follow. There are a couple extra things, but I don't want this video to be too extensive. There are many other ways to track your goals and your task and your progress. The important thing is that you define one that works. When you follow a formal process, you will see how big of a difference it makes for you achieving your goals, because you get the motivation back, and before you realize, a couple months happen and you have conquered so many things that seem impossible before, and that helps a lot. It goes a really long way. So that will be all. The link to the template guide will be below in the description. Please, the only thing I ask you in return is to smash the like button below and subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and I will see you in the next video.